Hey guys, welcome to the MC Anime Podcast. We cover anime, geek culture, Japanese aesthetics, and Asian studies. We are a multi-fandom podcast, and you can expect to hear topics in your favorite hobby or fandom activity potentially. You can find MC Anime on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Also, please check out mcanimepodcast.com, our website. Furthermore, stay tuned in for another episode.
From MC Anime. Today I have another special guest with me today. His name is Eric Abraham. We come from Mexico in Puerto Vallarta. Podcast Content Creation Camp 2022 and affiliation with Amplify U as like the sponsor or organizer of the trip. Further ado, tell a little bit about yourself, Eric, what you do, and overall what you like.
Hi there, I'm Eric, and I work for Amplify U and Michelle's husband, and I edit podcasts and help that way on her business. Mm-hmm. And I also work as a mechanic on the side, is most of my time spent, where I work on a lot of mechanical things around the lake we live on, and a lot of boats and anything that I can fix, I work on.
True. And overall, an interesting aspect that we're doing today's episode. We're doing transforming dreams into passions. So we're going to explore some of what Eric's, potential dream that turned to a passion. Now, there's like two sides of his dream in this case. One will be his mechanical career, boats and all that fixing up, and the house that he's been in, off the grid. A project that he's been raised in. Family basically influencing with boats and the lake and the house together, him being part of his life.
Yeah, I grew up on my family's property on this lake, so where we live now, and we spent every weekend, every time off, going to our family's property, and I really enjoyed being there. So it was my goal or dream to, hopefully one day live there or spend a lot of time there. So, working with my wife and having her being able to work remotely, we were able to move off the grid. I quit my job of 18 years and followed my passion to, work with my hands and be in the outdoors. That really pleases me and gives me the lifestyle I want, where I can work when I want to. I can spend time with my kids and family when I want to, and gives me the options to, enjoy every bit of life.
And every bit of life, you also have the flexibility where you can take time aside for the family, take time for a little bit of Amplify U, take time for the children, take time for, Michelle by yourself, and also take time with the boat mechanics as that helps you out. And then also, spend some projects in the house related as well.
Yeah.
What about the house, living off the grid, have changed you in any way?
Just to be more self-sufficient and, making life, and not running out to the store for one little thing you need. Every time I go to the store, I'm doing 5 errands at once. Not as cold as some people think. We get maybe snow once or twice a year. It's not like a really cold winter. It's, for a few months, it's lots of rain. So half of our house runs off hydroelectricity, so that gives me extra energy for the house when our solar doesn't keep up in the wintertime.
Okay. Do you describe yourself as nationality of Canada or nationality of the United States?
I'm Canadian. I was born in Canada.
But you also live in
raised
the
there.
States as well.
No, I just spent time traveling in the States. I did have my step grandma living in the States, so it was got to go down and visit her in Seattle, once or twice a year.
Okay, so you had family there. What about off the grid put you in a unique position than other people?
Maybe just because, it gives me, I don't know, in my head, I guess I get more knowledge.
Drinking water. Also having water access to bathe, take shower, water the garden, wash dishes, stuff like that. What about, what's some of the not so obvious things that come to the public house versus on the grid?
Well, with being off the grid, we can't run electric heaters or anything that throws out any heat because it draws a lot of power. We could run a generator all the time, but it uses fuel. I'd rather use more renewable energy, where I'm not having to buy more fuel. So we have a spring where we get all our water from that gives us the power, our drinking water. So most of our heat comes from wood, from a wood stove. So that's a part of living there is I have to have wood to burn to be able to heat the house and keep everybody warm. So it's always a task to
like a natural thing in the wintertime in Canada to have a wood stove anyway?
Some people, yeah. More and more people, you can't get wood, right? So we have lots of properties.
A very narrow chunk. What is the temperate rainforest like?
Well, behind our cabin is very lush. It's very old growth forest. It's very hard to walk in because it's not open. It's all dead, like fallen trees that have fallen down, or there's a lot of moss, so you don't really know what you're walking on. You fall in a lot of holes when you're walking around.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very lush, and I don't know. I love being up in the forest there. It's like a happy place to go. Almost just sit and take it in.
Okay. And what was the transition like to go off grid originally? Like, what was the first obstacle that you had to go through?
Well, we take both of our kids across in the boat. So we put our nice boats away for the winter. So we're stuck with a little car topper or a aluminum boat for the first year. So it was a little cold going across the boat with the wind and the rain. So I don't mind it so much, but the wife and the kids don't like it so much. So first task was to get a better boat for the winter that had a windshield and a roof. So that was one obstacle we had to overcome, and then some parts of the year it's foggy. So you had to learn how to navigate in the fog when you can't see anything in front of you. So you have to either rely on a GPS or I just use a compass so I know I'm going straight in the boat, because otherwise you go around in circles.
True. What was the first epiphany moment that you felt when considering living off grid?
Like what?
The epiphany moment is that I want to live off grid.
Well, for us, it's more, we didn't really have the choice of living off the grid. Our place, there's no road access, there's no way to get a road in. So it wasn't really a choice. It's just how I grew up living at that property. So it became second nature to me. And
so the barge, what was that process like?
It was just getting enough lumber, pulling, because we didn't have a machine. You had to hand come along or use a winch to basically pull the trees around. And then we had a chainsaw mill at the time to mill the lumber. And then we had to design it big enough basically to hold a bobcat.
Okay. So when your dream to live off the grid or became a reality, what was the accomplishment that you felt?
Well, growing when I started, but then it just got too big and I just became a number, an employee. So they didn't really look at me after 18 years, I didn't get the respect I felt like I should have had.
Okay. You know, a lot of jobs we have, the company gets too belated, but they're not really appreciated, the statistic at the job. You know, you're there, but you also have the disconnect. And that disconnect, that, I guess, motivated you to do something else?
Well, what really motivated us is we had a flood in our house.
Oh, okay.
So that was a huge motivation to our place got brand new floors, new paint on the walls with insurance, and they basically covered everything, and our house looked brand new or all ready to sell. So we just listed it, and it was the universe telling us in a way that it was time to pick up and move. And with Michelle having her own business, online, I felt like we had enough background to fall back on that, basically. And
so a natural, basically we call natural intervention.
Yeah.
You're living by nature, and nature chooses you to live in nature.
Yeah, there you go.
What do you think of that philosophy?
That sounds right. That sounds good.
Okay. So, love of nature, that's been ever present in your life since you ever grew up in the property. Was there moments where the other house that didn't really have that nature feel and you missed it?
The other place we lived in was up in the trees and up on a mountain, so it was still kind of a nice feeling.
But
it still wasn't the same.
Not what the lake was.
Not what the lake was, no. Obviously, being across the lake, it's a lot quieter. You don't have the noise from the city and the busyness, and for me, it's even having to go and do things like the convenience of just hopping in your car and driving, to visit family or friends. It's nice to have that isolation at times. Sometimes it's nice to have a lot of family and friends there, so it's nice to have a balance of it.
How about nighttime? You ever did some stargazing?
Yes.
Because the light pollution is not very heavy?
The stars are bright. You can go out there any night unless there's clouds, and a lot of people come up and they've never seen stars that bright because there is no light from the city here.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about, how the living off the grid came to fruition. That dream, working with your hands, building the house, becoming the passion of the house you live in, is a good transformation. How about the boat/mechanical side? Where did that come in play?
Well, just being raised with my dad being a technician for photo labs, he was always very technical, so he would be the one fixing everything, and I'd be learning from him. I started when I was 12, rebuilding carbs for outboards when I was up there for the summer, off school. So I like to tinker and take things apart and put things back together, so I just kept going with that. But being a forklift mechanic for 18 years, I got thrown into whatever job I'd get sent to from dispatch, and I'd have to figure it out and get it up and running for the customers so they weren't down a machine. So it was very easy to start working on boats because everything was mechanical and everything to me works the same. So the transition was really easy. Working on our own boats for years, I had some knowledge of that, but it came really easy for me.
Okay, so the prior experience came in clutch, and as a result, it served to push you forward in a new avenue that did not take too much difficulty to adapt to.
Yeah.
And switching to that new career of mechanical opposed to forklifts, to with boats and working with your hands more, what liberties have been opened up for you?
Well, being available at the lake, obviously lots of people have a hard time hiring people that they can get in. So a lot of people have known me for years there, so all my life. So it was very easy people ask me to take on other jobs or other challenges that they have. So, which is always also fun, just to keep being challenged, and people want something done, and I love the challenge of figuring it out and making it happen for them.
Has there ever been an interesting challenge that you had no idea how to fix and you just somehow fixed it?
Always. There's a lot of times I get people phoning me on the phone trying to figure it out, and without me being there and having the ear and the eyes and the feeling, you can't help people sometimes over the phone. You can give them all the theory you want, and should happen like this, and it's more, you have that skill or not. So there's been a lot of challenges in boats that really challenge you, and you have to figure it out. So there's been some challenges of some problems, and most of the time, all the time, I get the boat up and running and figure out what's wrong with it. Very seldom I have jobs I have to pass off. And
what was the most difficult boat that took the longest time to fix?
Well, one in particular is one of my friend's boats that basically he told me he rebuilt the carbs. So I was looking at other problems because it wouldn't go full speed. It would only go 2,000 RPM instead of 6.
Mm-hmm.
So it would only go half speed, say. And he swore up and down he cleaned the carbs, and I checked everything. I looked into everything, and I'm like, I can't find a problem, basically. So I resorted to what I needed to, and found out that there's something. He cleaned the carbs, but there's something plugged in the carb, like a piece of rag, that stopped it from getting gas. So he cleaned it, but he probably created a problem by cleaning it. So of course, I had to go back to the start instead of relying on people. So I'd say one thing is people hire me and say, I want X, I want this done.
But it's not exactly that simple.
They didn't give me the whole thing, and sure, I can rebuild the carbs for you, but that doesn't fix the problem, say. So then I have to go back and go back to square one and say, okay, this is what it actually needed. But they thought they knew what was wrong, and it's somewhere to start, but it wasn't the real root cause.
That's the problem with boats. A boat is a machine.
Yeah.
It's mechanical. You're not going to know the boat in and out if you're just a customer.
Yeah.
If you don't fix the boat on a regular basis, you're not going to notice a simple thing as a rag being stuck in the carbs,
yeah,
being stuck in the frame that's like literally slowing everything down because it got in the way. It's, what's that process like? It stops the rag so the carbs are not getting into the direction they need to work at the optimal
They're not
speed.
getting gas flow, say, right? So it's not getting enough gas to feed the engine. This boat had 3 carburetors, so 2 of them were working, but 1 wasn't.
So
it would idle and run really nice at idle, but then you just didn't have the power.
So eventually, if this wasn't fixed, one of the carbonators might have just kaput.
No, it runs, the one cylinder's not getting gas. And if this boat was a 2-stroke, you're not getting oil mix into the cylinder.
So it would cause
it would burn out the engine. Yeah, it'd burn out a cylinder if somebody just kept running on it.
Which they took it out of its mission because they couldn't figure the problem because there was a rag in it in the way.
Well, there's a little piece of lint basically from the rag, and because it's just a tiny little hole in carburetors. So.
That's crazy that just one of those things can mess up one big thing and just make it like look new and once it's gone.
Well, the other biggest thing that people have problems with boats is water in the gas. With ethanol fuels, it attracts water with the alcohol.
Oh, because water is like polar? They are attracted to that molecule?
It's just, there's so much moisture in the lake, right, or in the ocean that when it sits, the alcohol attracts that water.
It's
so you want to use ethanol-free fuel if you can. That's why they have boat gas at the boat docks for boats. You can also add additives that help but that's one of the biggest problems or one of the things I educate a lot of people with is to buy the proper gas, or especially store it with the proper stabilizer or stuff to keep it from attracting that.
So basically,
I wish boats would run on water, because that would be a lot cheaper and a lot more fun.
True.
One day, hopefully.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at, boat maintenance is actually somewhat more lucrative than car maintenance.
Yeah.
In a way, because you have people only know how to take care of the car. There's plenty of people that take care of the car. But boat maintenance is very specialized because there's not as much boat owners.
Yeah, there's not as many boat owners, and then also you can't really take your boat into a dealership all the time. That's because there's not as many dealerships in a lot of the lake properties or lake country, right? So one nice thing I mobile. I don't drive a car, I drive a boat around the lake. So I put more gas in my boat than I do in my car. Which is a funny concept, right?
I know. So what's that like?
Well, it's great because in one way gas gets delivered to me.
Yeah.
Because I order the boat gas and I have tanks to store it, which I have to barge across the lake. So this year I made a trailer and put 2 tidy tanks on top so I can have my own fuels and save gas runs to the gas station. So.
Oh, okay.
Which doesn't sell boat gas normally. So yeah.
And with say, boat regulation, what are some things you have to take into consideration to own a boat?
Well, you want a boat that's well suited for you. I'd say you want something that fits what you want in a boat. You want something, you want to fish in a boat, you want to entertain or use it for sports. So it's just what your means. You don't want to go out and buy the biggest boat you can because it's going to need more maintenance than a smaller boat, say. So it's always better to start off with a smaller boat. It depends what you're doing with it. It's in that it depends what your needs are. So
what's your favorite type of boat?
I like all boats.
I know you like all boats.
Obviously, the faster the better.
What is the optimal engine speed, the knots, the size that you like?
Well, one thing to think about is a lot of people, if you have to tow a boat, you want a boat that's small enough that you can tow behind a normal vehicle instead of having a huge truck to tow a boat. So a lot of people, you got to think about that, unless you have a big rig to tow a boat around, or you have a marina you can store it at. A lot of bigger lakes have needs. You need the bigger boats to get around because it's rougher. We live on a pretty small lake, so we don't really need really fast boats because you can't get them up to speed, even though it's really calm. So and then if you have a Sea-Doo or a jet ski, I enjoy getting wet in a jet ski. It's more challenging, but then it's not really good for going to get groceries.
So it could be. You just have a little box and put the groceries in.
Yeah. In the summer, but if you don't want to get wet,
What's wrong with getting wet? That's a good thing.
Well,
you're in the summertime.
In the summertime, it's fine. It's in the off season when it's cold and you don't want to get wet. But yeah, so it really depends. A nice, to go back to your question, I guess, is my favorite boat is we just got a new pontoon boat, and the nice thing is it's very well versed for a lot of different things, from water sports to just cruising to lounging out in the water. But then because we're boat access, we need to get supplies there, so it holds a lot more gear than a smaller boat. So there's a lot more deck space. It's more open, so you can get more supplies in at one load instead of taking multiple loads, or using my barge that takes about 20 minutes to half an hour to get across.
What are people's thoughts when they hear you only on a lake, that you live off the grid?
Well, everybody thinks in one way we're crazy, but then a lot of people are like, I always wanted to do that, or a lot of people's dreams are to live on the lake, and have that, remoteness. But obviously being off the grid is another challenge on top of it. So a lot of people
you have to be adaptable.
A lot of people have roads and you can get in there, so that's a little nicer. But then you have to worry about break-ins, because people can, where we are, it's seasonal, so a lot of people aren't there in the winter. So there's a lot of people that go around stealing things at times.
So your lake, you have to be very careful on people near the island.
Well, you can have, there's people, we've had in the past, people go around because nobody's around. Now that we live there full time, there's, we don't have as many problems because I'm around, maybe, or these people aren't around anymore, they're in jail. They are doing all these petty theft. But yeah, they go around, steal generators, guns, whatever they can find laying around cabins, because they have all the time in the world because nobody's around.
True. What's the impact with family? What do they think about it?
My kids really enjoy it. At times my son wishes he had, kids living right next door to us, which we do in the summer, but that's usually weekends in the summer when there's a lot more families and people are up for the summer. Over the years, there's another kid that moved in the area, so he's basically across the lake, but he's on the road side, so he can come home on the school bus and go there to play after school. So as my kids get older, it might be a bit more challenging when they have to come and go on their own, or they start driving. And
well, wouldn't you get a boat before they get a car?
Yeah, my son has a boat already, and he's 10.
And what does he use the boat for?
Well, this year he started going to the local. We have a public beach on the lake. So this year he started. He wanted to do a summer job, and he decided that he was gonna go and sell pop and chips at the beach. So him and his friend, we bought pop and chips, and they went over and sat at the beach selling some product.
So let me get this straight. Your son's already taking advantage of the fact that he's on water and doing a business in the environment that he's in?
Yeah.
What does that speak to you? Does it make you proud?
Oh, it's great, yeah.
So is there moments that you want to get involved to be a business partner, or you just want to leave him be?
Well, I can guide him as much as I can, but in one way they got to learn, right?
True.
They don't listen, so.
They don't listen.
They don't listen, right? You can tell them 10 times about the same thing, but of course, they got to learn from themselves.
What are some of the things on the lake that they don't listen to, they keep telling them?
Well, not just around the lake. It's just,
Yeah.
don't stick your finger in there, right?
Yeah.
Don't, certain things. It's just, they got to figure it out for themselves.
Okay. So the son's on the beach. How about the daughter? What's she do?
She loves to swim. She loves to do a lot more sort of gymnastics or zip lining and trampoline, and she's not really into driving the boat by herself yet, or because she's only 7, so she's getting there. But she loves just being with the family and with my family. That comes up quite a bit. She keeps busy doing different artwork and crafts. So.
Okay. So you ever thought about building a zip line on the property?
We have multiple zip lines.
Yeah.
And of course that took a learning curve, because I started when I was probably like 13 or 14, learning physics hands-on with how steep you can make a zip line and how much speed you can pick up. And I learned the hard way, when you don't have a brake at the end, how far you can fly off of it.
Oh my God! Did you hurt yourself?
I knocked the window to myself.
Well, at least the window didn't break, right?
Yeah. Yeah, at least I didn't break anything.
How about a zip line course? You got that advance yet?
Yeah, there we go. No, it's we of course we didn't have zipline kits or that you could buy like you can on Amazon now or in stores.
True.
So I had to take what we had and made a zipline with a steel cable that we used for pulling trees or pulling logs around with our machine. So I used that and then strung it across some trees, and we had a pulley, a snatch block that we used for pulling the cable. So because we learned that when you pull a tree, the tree is usually too tall than the cable is, so the tree falls down on the machine. So we had to put a snatch block to a stump, so you're pulling the tree at different angles, so the tree doesn't fall on the machine. So I learned all this stuff at a hands-on at a younger age.
How long does a tree hold a zip line? That's the question too.
Well, it depends how big the tree is.
Well, if a big tree that you have the zip line on,
you want to pick a tree that's suitable.
How long do you think it's going to last?
It'll last for years. I think the cable will fail before, and the hardware will fail before the tree does.
Do you ever coat the cables, make sure it don't get rusted?
It will slow the zip line down if you coat it, right?
Okay. So you just replace the cable and call it a day.
Yeah.
Keep all the hardware on it, and then keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you could use a rope, I guess, but there's a lot more stretch in a rope.
Well, yeah, because the cable is metal.
Yeah.
It has metal fibers holding it all together.
Yeah.
The rope, the fibers are literally, you can literally cut it with a knife.
Yeah. So it will only last, especially with UV light too. It'll break down over time.
Well, yeah, because of the metal.
And then it's probably not as fast. So.
Yeah, and steel is one of the most versatile metals that can be in the wilderness.
Especially stainless.
Oh, stainless is even worse because it actually stays even longer.
It's longer, but then it's softer.
True, but it's also more like malleable.
Yeah.
You can change it to different shapes.
Yeah.
So stainless steel actually is not that bad.
Yeah.
So when it became your passion to fix boats, left off the grid, what was a really good moment that finalized everything? This was a good choice for you.
When I saw my kids enjoying being up there, the family's happy. My wife, is happy, being there and just seeing the joy and having that extra family time versus sitting in my work van, commuting to work every day, not where I'm sitting with family or spending time bonding with my kids. So I mean, every day I enjoy being there and just living life to the fullest instead of working 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever put in the thought if you didn't have a remote job, this would not be possible?
Yeah, I think if I had to go to work away from there, I think it'd be a little harder because I'd be leaving my wife to figure out how to work things at the lake or at our house, and sometimes you have to know where our batteries are, and if batteries are getting low, we have to run the generator. So it's harder to maintain. It takes a little bit of effort. So, but yeah, if I had to go to work every day, I don't know if it would be the right fit.
True. So, have you found a friend who's also off the grid and does boats?
Yeah.
Or one of the two?
Yeah, I have another guy that that quit his job this year, working for the school district,
mm-hmm.
and basically started working with me to work on boats because during the summer it gets very busy. I'm only one person, so he saw the opportunity. He was a car mechanic for 25 years, and then he moved to BC from Alberta, which is the next province over from us. So he was already there, but he worked for the school district, which is mostly a job that you retire at, and he just was the same thing. He wasn't happy there. It was too much politics, too much headache, dealing with people, that he was happier dropping that and going on his own because he wanted the same thing as I had. He saw the happiness and the flexibility and the joy, and he wanted to have more time with his kids and family.
Yeah, you do bring up a good point. Career satisfaction is all what we need in a job.
Yeah.
My mom did the same thing. She was a teacher. politics, the standardized testing. She didn't like it. She went out of it, fixing, selling bicycles, running a business off of flea markets for years. So my mentality, I gotta travel with flea markets.
Yeah.
Just like how your son got used to the boat lifestyle and the lake. There's one like overlapping parallel is how your life is defined in your surroundings, and how that life can be observed through the lens of others. People perceive it, but you don't care. You're living the best life you can at the moment you can.
Yeah.
Is there any like people like opposition you just push away because they don't understand you?
Any opposition for
just your lifestyle?
No, I think most people, in a way, dream or think they could do it, but some people can't do it. But I think it's everybody's passion to like have the freedom and to do what they want and enjoy what they're doing. It's what is it, the way they put it is can't remember the quote, but it's like, it's if you simplify your life, you don't need the money, to deal with that, right?
Yeah, if you simplify your life, you don't need the money that comes from being with lots of money. You can just downsize and subsistence. It's like live off the land, live on what you need to be on, and then you can have a financial savings after the fact.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you're in that situation, you save money, and the extra money you don't put out can be put into something else.
Yeah.
You ever found money that you save actually makes you able to travel more?
Of course.
How often do you travel?
Well, lately it hasn't been too much with the pandemic. With traveling, it's been a scare to not travel in a way. So, but yeah, we have the freedom to pick up and go when we want to. So that's why we're here right now in Mexico.
Exactly.
So, but I also usually are very busy in the summer, so it's times when I don't want to travel. But then I have the freedom to choose when I want to go, surfing all day in the boat, and push off a job and work on a Sunday or on the weekend, and have it. Yeah.
In some aspects.
Yeah.
Others, and they may need some fine tuning, but it's adjustable.
And they get to do what they like to do, or I don't want to force things on them.
Yeah, true.
I love dirt biking, and I have a dirt bike sitting there for my son that he's had for 3 years, and he just hasn't had the want to do it. So I don't want to force him. I want him to ride it when he's ready. He was on a dirt bike when he was 2 years old with me. I just waited till he was at the right time that he wanted to drive it himself. So he just started driving it on his own. So, which is nice to me, because now, my wish is to be able to go dirt biking with him and go for a ride with him, riding his own bike. So he used to ride with me on the bike and on my ATV all the time. So they get too big to be going with me, right?
True.
And now we have a side by side, so it also now they have a seat or that, so they don't have to drive it. So if I was on my bike,
if they go with you enough, they might push that passion a little bit more too.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to force it, but I want it to come natural and not,
this also brings up another point. You've been surrounded with the love of outdoors for so long that without it, you feel like you don't have a purpose.
Yeah.
How, if you went to the city, what is the one thing that would just drive you insane?
Well, the second I get off of the ferry that we have to take to get to the Sunshine Coast where we live, it's a little, you're instantly in traffic, and instantly, the blood pressure rises because you're sitting in traffic, and that was one reason we kind of got out of a busy city, because you're commuting and sitting in traffic a lot. So that's one thing I don't look forward to. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything you want the audience to take from following, transforming dreams into passions and having the dream becoming such passion?
Well, everybody, you got to listen to your gut and know what you want to do, I guess, and take it to, I don't know, you got to be happy with what you do. You don't want to be stuck in a job that, doesn't make you happy and a lifestyle that's not healthy for you. I grew up raised to work 9 to 5 in a job, so that's what I was, that's what I thought I had to do. And, being with Michelle made me think differently too, for that reason. Do more stuff on your own.
Okay. Because the line where dream becomes passion, you have the aspiration to have the dream.
Yeah.
When it becomes passion is when you do the hard work to achieve it, or by miracle it happens. But sometimes there is no hard work, it just happens.
Or it just comes naturally, right?
Yeah, it's a natural occurrence in your lifestyle to change the dream you had for a kid to be a passion when you're an adult. And there is always launching new careers just at a moment's notice. 20 plus years in the business and you want to go something else. That's not uncommon to hear.
Yeah.
And job satisfaction is very important in potential dreams. Let's say job satisfaction was put off, they didn't follow.
No, they find what they're passionate about and what they want to do.
So you're an advocate for this?
I'm not sure.
You want to start a business being an advocate for people's dreams?
No. I'm going to stick with what I know.
Exactly. Stick to what you know and only stick to the things that you've been taught.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this concludes this particular episode of Transforming Dreams into Passions. I thank you for Eric for being here. He was a little, unsure how to do it.
Yeah.
But I guided him into what he knows best, his subject, that is his story. So if you really like it, please listen to the episode more, listen to it again, have some inspiration for a career that you might like, for a dream. It doesn't have to be a career. For a dream to become reality, to become a passion, it's all you need to be satisfied and happy. And with that, let's come to a close. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And, this concludes this episode. You can find us on podcasts near you, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. We're also on www.mcanimepodcast.com. Again, that's www.mcanimepodcast.com. And we're on Patreon as well for extra content and more on that platform where you can support us and do more in the coming episodes of MC Anime Podcast. Thank you and enjoy.
This concludes another episode of MC Anime Podcast. MC Anime Podcast is available on podcast directories like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. We also have our website at mcanimepodcast.com. If you want to directly support us, then follow Patreon blog MC Anime. Finally, if you want services for hire, then we're available on Fiverr for audio and video production, graphic design, idea consulting, and blog and article writing.